Okay, this recipe it's a little bit of showboating. It looks really cool, but it's really, really simple to make, and it will taste delicious. And I think it's a really, really simple one to make as well. That's why it's near the start of this course. So what we're going to do is make 2 wholemeal cobs, and they're going to be really country sort of tasted, really nicely fermented, with a hint of dark rye flour as well, which will just really make it nutty, and yeah, it'll be great. So first of all, we're going to do 450 grams of wholemeal flour. This is stone ground wholemeal flour. You generally mix it with white, and we are going to mix it with a bit of white. That's just because otherwise it can get a little bit dense. There are ways around it, which we can find out later in the programme, but for now this will taste fantastic anyway. Possibly the slowest flour weighing time I've ever seen. So 480 grams of that. Then we're going to chuck in 40 grams of dark rye flour. If you don't have dark rye flour, you can get it online. If you really can't be bothered to get it online, don't worry, you can just use wholemeal flour if you wish. So that's going to take us up to 520. Okay, and then some white flour as promised, 130 grams of white flour. So that will take us up to 650 grams for the total flour weight. For this, we're going to do 460 grams of water. It's time to weigh the yeast. For this, 10 grams. That's 13 grams of salt. It's longly debated about salt killing the yeast, whether it's an old wives' tale or whether it's true. To play on the side of caution, I always add the salt separately to the yeast. Now, I forgot this last ingredient, and that is some oil, some vegetable oil, 6.5 grams. It's really, really hard to pour. It can be wise to use a small little container like this beforehand, but I'm pretty confident that if I use the top of this, then I'll be able to and pour it very slowly, that I'll be able to control it if I get quite close to it. Okay, so that's the ingredients all weighed up. Now we're going to just start incorporating them all together. So once again, we're going to pour the water into the flour. I'm using a finer salt this time, so I'm not going to bother adding the salt to the water. And then we're just going to move around, setting our timer on 10 minutes. And then I'm going to follow this action here to move the dough around, the mixture around. So one way with this side goes around the outside, folds in, whilst this hand turns. Okay, onto the table it goes. Just as you move the dough around, keep turning it over, keep rolling it into it. The quicker you can get everything absorbed, the better your dough is going to be. And you can feel it's quite sticky now, but that's going to be fine. So I'm just going to roll it forward like this with my hand, just rolling it forward with the palm of my hand. Now, what you want to try and avoid when you're doing this stage, or any hand kneading stage, is to try and resist your heat coming out your hand and into the dough, because this is going to warm up the dough. The least we can do that, the better. So by trying to just use the palm part there to push it through and do all the work, it's going to reduce the surface area of your hand touching the dough. It's just that little bit, that it will add up. Bearing in mind that you're doing this for quite a long period, it will add up and it will make a difference to the dough. So the dough is getting a little bit sticky. There's still a minute or two left to go, and I wish now that we'd done the water at a little bit cooler temperature. that would have meant putting a bottle of water into the fridge and allowing it to cool down, and then using that water. We could have probed the water and brought it down to maybe 10 degrees or maybe 11, and that would have just made it a little bit easier and stopped this sticking part that we're going through right now. Okay, so we've hit a minute. You'll find now that it just wants to stay in a ball, which is really, really cool. So, we'll take our bowl back, pop our dough into the bowl, and leave that for 15 to 20 minutes in the fridge, covered, just to bring the temperature down, let the dough relax, continue its fermentation, and then we'll get it out and do the fast kneading for another 10 minutes. Okay, so next stage, it's had a good 20 minutes in the fridge. We're gonna start hard kneading now. So up this comes. And now you can feel that that wants to stay in a ball. It's a nice mass. The wholemeal flour, which if you remember I said takes a little bit longer sometimes to absorb the water. Well, that's feeling a lot drier now. So we're gonna now start fast kneading this. So it's the same process as with the white dough, which is to stretch it out, throw it on the table. You'll find this a little bit firmer. Because here's our dough now, it's a nice ball. We're gonna get our bowl, in it goes. Once again, cover. Then we're gonna put this in the fridge now for an hour. I've brought the camera down so you can see it a little better. So the first one goes away like that and in towards the middle, and again. Then we can turn it, or you can move yourself. Push that one away, in like that, over like that. Then we can do it, push down, do it again. This time it gets a little bit harder, in like that, and over like that. And then one more go, that way like that, and over we go like that. That's it. Once again, if you wanted to, you can try the kind of hand moulding technique just to get yourself a bit more used to feeling the dough, because now's a good time to do it. It's not really necessary, but that's fine. Back in the bowl it goes, back covered it goes, we'll leave it for another hour. Okay, so we've taken our dough out and we're gonna place it on the bench, again, face down. So the skin at the top is now at the bottom. Now, we're gonna push out like that, fold in. Turn it around clockwise, push out like that, fold in. Push out like that, fold in. Push out like that, fold in. Knock out all the air into it, that's in it, and make it a little bit easier to divide. Now, pull that towards us, and how we do that, I've just come around the other way, pulling that like that. So our hands come towards it. They're like this. They come towards it. Like that, come towards it. Okay. Okay, so the dough is now on this bench here. We're going to cut it in half. Then taking our scale, just going to see what the weights are. If we want them even weights, otherwise it's going to be harder to know when each one's ready. So 509, 537, not bad. What's that? 10, 16. So now that is 516. Now what we're going to do is a technique of moulding the bread into a round. And then round, over, like that, and pull it towards us. And I appreciate you can't see too much there, so let's do the other one the other way. And you keep looking till you've got no long bit. And we're just going to take the longest bit, pinch down with a thumb, roll over like that. This is that nice shape there. Then all we do now is take our hand and use that V-shape technique and just try and round it into a bowl. Now you shouldn't try and make it perfect. 5 sort of turns, you know, like that is absolutely fine. Some bakers will do less, they'll do it in 2 turns. 1, 2, 1, 2. That's all they need. But that's for the experienced ones. And when you're in a fast-paced environment. This now is absolutely perfect. So, we're going to do different techniques as we go through the process. But here we're just going to sprinkle some flour on top. I'm going to do the same with the other one while it's in my hand. We're also going to take a bit of semolina. And that's a little bit coarser, so it's going to act as a barrier again. And then we're just going to get our bread dough, pop it on top. Same with this one, pop it on top. Okay. To stop the air from drying it out in the room, we can just put a bowl back over it, and that'll do absolutely fine to allow it to prove. You don't have to. You could just give it a little spray of water halfway through if it needs it. That's generally all it needs. But this is what we're going to do this time. Put a bowl over the top. Happy days. So we'll leave this now for around 2 to 3 hours to prove up. In the meantime, we're going to make sure our oven's ready for that optimum time for when they need to go. Okay, so 2.5 hours later, we've got a nice balls like that. And first of all, we're just going to check that the dough is not stuck to the bottom. I'm just running a scraper underneath. If you don't have a scraper, then a palette knife will do. Okay. And like the farmhouse tin that we did in the last episode, I'm going to sprinkle some flour on top. This time we're going to do a bit of wholemeal flour. A little bit of dark rye flour. And to add a bit of texture, we're going to add a bit of light rye flour as well. So it's going to be like a bit black, a bit dark, yeah. Add a load of colour into it, it'd be really, really nice. Okay, as I said before, you could use wholemeal if you wanted to. Now, again with the blade, feel free to experiment a little bit. So what you're doing when you're cutting is you're allowing the bread to escape when it rises, so it doesn't rip. If you pop that in there straight like that, there's a good chance that it will rip. As the oven spring goes up, it doesn't know where to go, and yeah, it will cause a rip, and it can really make the bread look horrible. So putting a nice cut in it, putting a bit of artistic sort of touch can be really, really cool. And there's loads of different things you could do. We can start off with a crisscross for one, and for the other one we're going to do something slightly different. It will kind of change the texture of the bread, it will kind of change how the bread rises up a little bit, but it won't probably alter the flavour that much. But hey, let's try and do something here. I'm going to bring the camera down so you can see exactly what we're doing. So the first one, let's just cut this with a cross. It's a really, really simple one. So you can use your hand on the your left hand to steady the bread if you want to. But nice cut there, that wasn't very deep, a little bit longer. And then move the bread around, do one like that, and then move it around again, and do one like that. This one here, let's do something slightly different. Let's do a nice big circle. So let's start here and go all the way around. Okay. There you go. So that's going to sort of spring up at the top. It may turn a little bit, but we'll see what happens in the oven. Again, that's got a nice cut on it. It's going to sit nice and proud. I'm really excited for these. Let's put them in the oven. Okay, I'm lucky enough to have a nice big baking stand that should fit 2 loaves in. We've cranked the heat up to 250, bottom heat only. And now let's slide it in. First of all, I'm just going to remove some of the flour on the outside, just so that this part here, if you look at the camera, just removing some of the flour there, because that'll just burn in the oven. Right, let's go. Woo! Give it a nice, yeah. Do the same with that one, and pop that one in there. So I've got one at one side, one slightly at the other. A little bit of water at the bottom. Woo-hoo-hoo! Girlfriend will hate that. Up we go. Okay, so then we're going to wait 30 seconds. In the meantime, I'm going to pump this up. And you can already see the bread starting to spring up into the oven. Go. And the outside of the oven. Wait another 30 seconds. 30 seconds later. See that the bread has already risen up a bit. You can see that gap there where we cut, which was originally just a line, like a pencil thickness, and now it's already risen to about that much. So, and then the one at the back, which you can just about make out, that's doing quite nicely as well. So that'll continue to rise for about 10 to 15 minutes. And hopefully it will come out really, really good, really nice and clean and tidy. So now, we're going to leave this in the oven for about 25 minutes, and then we're going to have a look at it. It could be a case then we then turn it around. I'm also going to drop the heat down to 220. That'd be fine. Okay, so 25 minutes and we'll come back and have a look at it. Okay, so 25 minutes in, let's have a look at it. Whoa! And that steam coming out is gonna basically shows that we've got a nice oven. That is really supporting our cause. Now I know I've got heat spots in this oven. The back end of the oven is hotter than the front end of the oven. So we're just going to turn it round, pop it back shut, and then leave it for another 10 minutes, and that should turn out really, really good. So the bread's now had an extra 10 minutes in there, and whew, that is looking lovely. Look at that golden colour. It's nice and hard, it sounds nice and hollow. Okay, so we're gonna take that out and that will cool. Okay, so our bread is now out of the oven. They are both looking divine. I'm really looking forward to eating them. Brown bread really goes nicely with a little bit of blue cheese, or any cheese really. And yeah, so I'm gonna wait for these to cool down, and in 2 hours or so, if I can hold myself out that long, I'm gonna then put these in, slice them up, have a bit of blue cheese, or maybe with a bit of soup. They're gonna be absolutely crazy, man. I'm really looking forward to eating them. And you can see this one here, it's got a nice cut on top. It's pretty unique. It looks like a guy with a little hat on top. This one here with the cross on. Look how beautiful that cross is. So, have a go. Let me know what you think below. If we need any more help, I'm happy to give it to you. Post in the comments, and yeah, just let me know how you're getting on.